Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel. There's some evidence that indicates Ripple co-founder Chris Larsen may have just fired his law firm. This coming on the news that a certain document that was expected to be filed wasn't filed on time. There's also this headline from CoinDesk. Citibank debanked Ripple's Brad Garlinghouse due to crypto. Executive says, yes, due to crypto, but that doesn't fully explain why Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse was debanked. I mean, he was literally, I'll just tell you this at the outset. He had been a customer of this bank for decades, literally, and then suddenly he was told, out of the blue, having done nothing wrong, your business is no longer wanted. They shut down the account. But it has to do with crypto. But yeah, honestly, the reason is more outrageous than just saying crypto. It's definitely way more outrageous than that. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice. And you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, so first let me quickly get you caught up to date on why there is speculation that Chris Larsen may have actually fired his law firm. First, just as a reminder, because this is directly related to the story, the appeal process for going against Judge Torres' decision in the SEC v. Ripple case, we found out that was going down on October 2nd. The deadline for the SEC to file Form C, which is the form that's required to continue with the appeal process, that was due by October 16th. And I'm sure that most of you, I'm sure about almost 100% of you now are aware that we didn't see any sort of indication that the SEC had filed that on time. There may have just been some sort of glitch within the system at a highly consequential time, and maybe they did file it on time, but it wasn't showing up online until the next day. Maybe that's what a lot of people are going with now. There is no indication at this point that the court is going to be pushing back against the SEC, saying, nope, you didn't file on time, you can't appeal. There's no indication that they were late whatsoever, so it may be the case that they really were on time. There's a lot of question marks surrounding that still. But we got some proof that indeed the date for that form that was due was October 16th. And so this was shared by XRP community member Sherry. I actually highlighted this the other day. This is the form, and this is directed directly at Chris Larsen, noting that a particular form needed to be filed by 18th pertaining to the appeal process. Now, of course, and this is proof that the October 16th date was correct because there was dispute over that amongst people in the community as well. This is proof that October 16th was the correct date, because if the SEC didn't file anything, then there would be nothing for Chris Larsen to file in regards to that. But you wouldn't then have the due date for the SEC be the same due date for Chris Larsen, so that's why that is indeed the case. Proof there. But you can see, I don't want to read this thing. I know it's very short here, but they're just noting that the court had not received acknowledgement and notice of appearance on behalf of Appellee's counsel. So that's Chris Larsen and his counsel. Well, take a look at this. This is from XRP community member Ashley Prosper. It says, it looks like Chris Larsen fired his legal team from Paul Weiss, Rifkind, Wharton, and Garrison LLP. That's a law firm name if I've ever heard one. After they failed to file their notice of appearance on time. Good old Matthew Solomon stepped in to take over. He is fighting for Kraken. What a star. And so it is indeed the case that there has been this shift, and it happened at a time that, looks like there may have been a lapse in following through with something that procedurally just should have occurred here. So it is speculation. We can't technically know for sure, but the evidence it's evidence, not proof, but the evidence is such that it makes you wonder, right? So I thought that this is pretty reasonable speculation. I mean, something happens, looks like a totally missed a deadline, and then suddenly there's a different lawyer in charge. I mean, I don't know. You guys tell me here. And by the way, it hasn't dropped yet, but I will mention this since we're talking about the appeal stuff here. We're supposed to be getting at some point today Ripple's cross-filing in regards to this entire process. As soon as that drops, I'll get you an update and make a separate video. But at least at the time I'm recording this, that has not dropped. I'm just been made aware that it's supposed to come today at some point. That leads us to this. Citibank debanked Ripple's Brad Garlinghouse due to crypto, exec says. Now, this is completely bananas, completely unacceptable, and insane. And I'm telling you that Brad Garlinghouse has been targeted because he's high profile in the world of crypto. In fact, according to Brad Garlinghouse, even the bank isn't denying that. How is this legal? This is crazy. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse has personally been severed from a long-time banking relationship because he's a prominent figure in crypto, he told an audience in Washington on Wednesday. Individuals within the crypto industry are being debanked, he said at DC FinTech Week. I personally have been debanked. And so, folks, think about that. Being in crypto, that's something that makes you, it can anyway, if you take self-custody, can put you in a position where you're in charge of your own world as it pertains to finance in a way that literally wasn't possible until 15 years ago with the advent of the cryptocurrency asset class thanks to Bitcoin being created. And so to think that you could take that on and then legacy finance would be like, oh, you're doing that thing? Okay, fine, then we don't want to be a part of it. It's just completely absurd to get booted, though, from the traditional finance system. And it's extra tough now because imagine that you couldn't get a bank account anywhere else because of something like this. Like, this crypto has not been sufficiently adopted that it would be easy to go through life at this point without using some forms of traditional finance. I'm not saying it's literally impossible. There are some people that feel so strongly about this that they do that. But my God, in most parts of the world, an absolute headache, adding friction to life, in terms of getting stuff processed, it can be annoying. And I understand that there are, all sorts of companies that will take payments allegedly in crypto, but not all do, and even the ones that do understand it's a lot of times it's not the case that you're literally sending them crypto. Yes, you feel like you're paying in crypto, but the company at the receiving end, they're using a middleman there, and they're actually just receiving dollars. So there's a firm in the middle that will take the crypto, but then the merchant that you're ultimately trying to pay is actually receiving the United States dollar or whatever the fiat currency is. So the point in saying that is we're just not there quite yet. We may very well get there, but for most people, especially in the first world, and look, this is true for me as well. I don't really have an incentive. I've said this many times. I just haven't talked about it in a long time on the channel, but I don't feel that I have an incentive to begin using crypto as money. In fact, if anything, I'm disincentivized because I know that it keeps going up so tremendously. And if I'm going to use it as money, then I just have to keep replacing it. And then in terms of long-term capital gains tax in the United States, there are factors there because you need to hold, in the United States anyway, you need to hold for at least a year in order to get hit with the long-term capital gains tax rate, which is lower. So if you're continually spending it and replacing it, you're hurting yourself if you think that you might want to sell that at some point. So there's all sorts of reasons that I'm not doing that because it would add friction. And frankly, like the dollar or not, and obviously it's getting debased into oblivion, I talk about it all the time, but it does just work. Broadly speaking, using a credit card and then paying off, each statement in full each month, it just works. You can set up all payment. There's not a lot of work to it. What's the incentive to change if that's working? So I think that those countries that are most poorly run, like you can imagine, especially I know, and again, I understand the dollar's being debased, the United States dollar, but you can imagine in nations where like a fiat currency is rapidly collapsing, like hyperinflation. I think that the people there, even with crypto being as volatile as it is today, I think that there are many that would find that to be more appealing, and it can't be taken from them. In a situation where there's legitimate hyperinflation. So I've always wondered if perhaps it's more likely that those areas of the world where there's the most abuse of a fiscal system and fiat currency specifically, if those would be the areas of the world that would adopt crypto for that use case first, using it actually in place of a fiat currency, as Bitcoin was originally intended as a peer-to-peer cash system. But in the first world, where broadly speaking things work on a day-to-day basis, even though the dollar's being abused, what's the point? What's my incentive to do that? To make my life worse to do that? And then substantially reduce my returns if I do choose to sell due to the tax implications? Like, what are we talking about here? Why would I even be doing that? It just doesn't make sense. And I think a lot of people feel that way. That's just the way that it's set up. And so all that to say, if you're going to take away all like the opportunity bank just because you're dabbling in crypto to some degree, that's disgusting. So I understand this isn't happening to most people, at least in the United States on an individual level, but they don't have to. You guys ever heard of Operation Choke Point 2.0, shutting down the on-ramps and off-ramps? Well, as you'll see, that plays in here too. So let me read a little bit further and check out what actually happened. Because yes, this has to do with crypto, but wait for the actual reason here because it's absolutely gross here. So Anyway, Peace continues. Garlinghouse tied his own experience to the wider trend in the United States industry that struggled to maintain banking ties as regulators have cautioned institutions to limit their crypto involvement. He later added in an interview with CoinDesk that the institution that cut him off recently was Citigroup Inc., with which he'd been a customer for about 25 years, he said. And he added that it's not the only personal banking relationship he's lost because of his role in crypto. They said, "You have 5 days to move your money," he said. They were actually super honest. They're like, look, you are a notable person in crypto, and having notable people in crypto and banking the crypto industry means more scrutiny from federal regulators. So there you go. It's not just that this bank has something, actually, there's no evidence at all that this bank specifically has some sort of worldview that's anti-crypto. It's that they don't want the heat that having crypto customers brings from the government. It's the government. Do you see this? That's outrageous. Now, I'm willing to bet that some of you were able to guess that. It's not, because look, there are banks that are throughout the world that are just anti-crypto. There's fewer and fewer of them as each year passes, of course. But that's not exactly what's going on here. It's not just that they're anti-crypto, and whether they are or not is kind of outside the context of this conversation to a certain degree, because the real problem, it's the federal regulators. That's it. Completely unacceptable. They're just putting down the pressure. Like Operation Choke Point 2.0, it's absolutely real, because if the banks are feeling this type of pressure, and even if they're only debanking certain notable figures like this, my God, if this goes the wrong way, that just spreads down to people like, the little peons like you and I, who are nobodies, right? I just find it repulsive. Now, this is why I'm concerned. You just look at who's been in charge over the last several years, this current administration. I would like that to be replaced. And I'm optimistic that we may get that here in the United States. We'll find out in the next couple weeks here. Maybe it goes the wrong way. Look, crypto doesn't go away no matter what, but it's kind of like, to what degree is it going to go in our favor, and how long is that going to take? If it goes a particular way, like, it's just going to get slowed down. Anyway, Peace continues. The CEO was highly critical of President Joe Biden's administration in Washington, saying Securities and Exchange Commission Chair Gary Gensler has led a reign of terror, and accusing the U.S. Treasury Department and Banking Regulator Office of the Comptroller of the Currency of being hostile to the industry. He said that whichever way the U.S. presidential elections go next month, the future of crypto policy will be better. Okay, so like I was saying a second ago, in part I agree with that, just in that crypto is going to persist, and I think will directionally go the right way. I have no reason to believe that under a Harris administration things are going to get better. There is nothing. She barely even pays lip service to crypto. She said like one or two sentences. I have no reason to believe that. But still, I think that there's such a desire and push from people in crypto. Like it's made it far enough along that you're not going to be able to kill this thing. And then he said, and this is a quote from Garlinghouse, "No matter what happens, we're going to see a reset," end quote. Depends on how you're defining that. Maybe you have a looser idea of what a reset looks like. I see, again, no evidence from anything from the Harris admin anyway. So anyway, that's completely freaking absurd. This is absolutely disgusting. And that's why I think that Attorney James Murphy, a.k.a. Metal Lawman, kind of hit it on the head here. It's like I was saying, too. He said, so Citibank debanked Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse. Meanwhile, U.S. bank regulators deny that Operation Choke Point 2.0 exists. See, that's the thing. And then the government could be like, well, we didn't tell them to do that. Yeah, but what do you think the pressure that you're putting on is going to result in? Think about it. Because, frankly, these businesses are going to operate in the best interest of the shareholders. That's what they should be trying to do anyway, right? Fiduciary responsibility. And then the federal government just says douchiary responsibility. I don't know, because they want a bunch of D-banks. Especially the SEC, a bunch of asshat pricks over there. My God. This is real life, folks. This is what we're living in here. You're going to tell your grandkids about this one day, and it's just going to be hard for them to believe that this was ever the case, because crypto will just be accepted as something that's new. Like it'd be as stupid as if you were anti-internet in 1995, and there were people that were anti-internet in 1995. I mean, think about it. The sum of all information all human knowledge at the fingertips of anybody on the planet? That sounds dangerous. You know, there were people that wanted you to have a license in the mid-90s. They wanted you to have to apply for a license and get approved to use the internet. I kid you not. There were people that were pushing for that. Those are the types of people, undoubtedly, that want to clamp down on crypto and make it, just make its existence, go bye-bye, basically. They're not going to win. I think it's very clear. Genie's out of the bottle, and it's been out too long, and everything's, like, the whole asset class is too big now. But they're still fighting. Oh, man, I hope things change in a couple weeks. Oh, I really do. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.